Hello everyone! For today's video, I'm going to share some of the best indie turn-based RPGs to play right now. They may be indie games, but each one brings something unique that rivals even AAA RPG titles. Well, let's get into the list. Every once in a while, a game appears out of nowhere and completely surprises you. A game that feels full of heart, charm, and passion. WitchSpring R is exactly that kind of game. The game is a story-focused RPG made by KiwiWalks, a small 3-person indie team from South Korea. At first glance, it might remind you of the Atelier games with its magical theme and crafting systems, but WitchSpring R quickly proves that it has its own identity. It mixes the cozy crafting vibes of Atelier with the classic feel of old-school SNES RPGs. Interestingly, this game is actually a remake of the original WitchSpring that released on mobile in 2020. But this isn't just a simple upgrade, it's a massive glow-up with better visuals and a much more polished experience. Look Outside already looks fascinating thanks to its striking pixel art and the creepy creatures surrounding the main character. But things get even more interesting when you realize the game mixes two genres you don't usually see together: survival horror and turn-based RPG. You will explore building to find important items like weapons, crafting materials, food, and key objects needed to progress. But just like classic survival horror games, resources are extremely limited. And the turn-based combat is quite simple. You can attack, use items, apply status effects, and exploit enemy weaknesses, things you'd normally see in most RPGs. Overall, the combat feels a bit basic. Epic Battle Fantasy series actually started back in 2009 as a small flash game on sites like Newgrounds and Congregate. Despite its simple beginnings, the games quickly became popular. And then came the newest entry, Epic Battle Fantasy V. Released in 2018, the game was designed as a soft reboot of the series, with major gameplay changes and a fresh start for the story. At first glance, the combat in this game looks like a normal turn-based RPG, but a few clever systems make it stand out. First, the game removes the classic mana system entirely and replaces it with cooldowns. Strong abilities can only be used once every few turns, which forces you to think more carefully about when to use them. Crystal Project is a non-linear JRPG that focuses heavily on freedom. Instead of guiding you through a strict story path, the game simply drops you into a huge world and lets you explore it however you want. Your goal is to travel across the world, find magical crystals, and unlock new classes for your characters. As you discover more classes, you can mix abilities and experiment with different team builds to create strategies strong enough to defeat powerful bosses. Furthermore, unlike many RPGs that hide the math behind battles, Crystal Project shows you almost everything. Turn order, damage numbers, and ability probabilities are all clearly visible. This makes battles feel more strategic because you can actually plan your moves with full information. Journey of Realm Dawn Dew is a pretty interesting indie RPG that flew under the radar. At first glance, the game might remind you of Ender Lilies, but instead of being a Metroidvania, this game is actually a turn-based RPG. The turn-based battles are much deeper than they first appear. You'll need to manage several different resources while fighting. You can summon spirits, switch combat stances, cast spells, and use limited items. Each stance gives you different passive abilities and skills, which means your strategy can change a lot depending on how you build your character. Sea of Stars immediately stands out with its beautiful pixel art and classic RPG style. The combat in Sea of Stars follows a classic turn-based system, but it adds some clever mechanics to keep things interesting. One of the most important systems is called locks. When enemies prepare powerful attacks, they show a set of symbols called locks above their heads. If you hit them with the right types of attacks, you can break those locks and weaken, or even completely cancel, their special move. Another mechanic is timed hits, similar to Super Mario RPG. If you press a button at the right moment when attacking or defending, you can deal more damage or reduce incoming damage. If you enjoy strange RPGs with dark humor, you might want to check out Felvidek. It's a small indie RPG set in 15th century Slovakia, but don't expect a typical heroic fantasy story. Instead, this game mixes black comedy, weird characters, and some surprisingly deep writing into a short but memorable adventure. The game describes itself as a JRPG, and the combat follows a turn-based system. But there are a few important differences. There are no random encounters, and no character levels. Instead, fights happen at specific story moments. This makes every battle feel more important, and even simple fights can feel dangerous. Bloomtown. A different story takes inspiration from huge hits like Persona 5. Like many RPGs inspired by Persona 5, Bloomtown includes a day and night cycle. During the day, our main character, Emily, can explore the town, talk with people, train her abilities, or take a part-time job to earn money. These activities increase her stats, such as guts, charm, intelligence, and proficiency. Combat in Bloomtown uses a classic turn-based system. Emily and her friends fight enemies using weapons, magic, and the powers of their guardian demons. Each character has their own demon partner that grows stronger over time. During battles, players can also try to capture enemy demons and add them to their collection. Monster Sanctuary mixes monster collecting, turn-based combat, and exploration inspired by classic Metroidvania games. You will run, jump, and explore large connected areas filled with puzzles, obstacles, and hidden paths. And this is where your monsters become incredibly important. Every monster you collect has special abilities that help you explore the world. And, of course, monsters are also used in battle. Combat in Monster Sanctuary is turn-based, but it adds a lot of strategy. Instead of fighting with just one monster, you use a team of 3. One of the most interesting systems is the combo mechanic. Every action you take builds a combo counter. The higher the combo goes, the stronger the next attacks become. This means the order of your actions matters a lot. Grimm's Hollow is a freeware RPG with a strong purple-themed style and a surprisingly emotional story. Even though the game is a very short game, usually around 2 hours, it manages to tell a surprisingly touching supernatural story. Depending on your choices, the game also has multiple endings, which makes the journey feel bigger than its small size. The combat is also more interesting than you might expect from such a small RPG. Battles use a turn-based system, but each attack includes a small rhythm minigame. When you attack or defend, you have to press buttons at the right time to make your moves stronger. At times, it can feel slightly awkward, but once you get used to it, the system makes fights feel active and strategic instead of slow. Cassette Beasts clearly takes inspiration from Pokemon. Instead of fighting with monsters you catch, this game lets you record creatures on cassette tapes and transform into them. Where Cassette Beasts really shines is how it improves many parts of the classic formula. One of the biggest changes is how monsters work. Instead of capturing a creature and then spending hours leveling it up, every beast you catch automatically matches your character's level. That means you can immediately add a new monster to your team and start using it right away. This small change makes capturing new beasts much more exciting. Every time you discover a new creature, you can test it in battle instantly. Because of this, players often switch their team members more often and experiment with different strategies. At first glance, West of Loathing might look extremely simple. The game uses only black and white colors, the characters look like stick figures, and the art style seems very basic. But don't let that fool you. Behind that simple look is one of the funniest and most creative RPG adventures you can play. The combat itself is turn-based and takes place on a small grid. Battles are fairly simple, with attacks, items, and abilities to use. However, fighting isn't always necessary. One of the most interesting parts of West of Loathing is that many problems can be solved without combat. If you have the right item, enough points in a certain skill, or a specific ability, you can often talk your way out of a fight or solve a quest in a completely different way. Chained Echoes is clearly made by someone who truly understands classic RPGs, especially the great ones from the SNES and PlayStation era. You'll see inspirations from many classic games. Character introductions feel similar to Wild Arms. The map perspective and battle transitions bring back memories of Chrono Trigger. The global leveling system is similar to Chrono Cross, and building up your base is reminiscent of Suikoden. But here's the important part. The game doesn't just throw in references for fun. All of these ideas are combined carefully so they work together. The result is an RPG that feels familiar but still fresh. Darkest Dungeon is a really grim and cruel turn-based roguelike RPG. The game is filled with danger, randomness, and constant tension. Every dungeon is randomly generated, and almost everything in the game depends on chance. Your attacks might miss, and even the turn order in battle can change because of hidden dice rolls. That means you're never completely sure what's going to happen next. And in Darkest Dungeon, death is permanent. When a hero dies, they're gone forever, along with all the progress you made with them. The most important thing to understand about Darkest Dungeon is this. Sometimes the best strategy is to run away. The game actually lets you retreat from a mission at almost any time, even during combat. You'll lose the rewards from the mission, but you might save the lives of your surviving heroes. If you're ready for a deep and emotional story, OMORI offers something very special. At its heart, OMORI is about two different worlds. The first world is called Headspace. This is a colorful, dreamlike place where we play as a quiet boy named OMORI and his group of friends. The gameplay here is similar to classic RPGs with turn-based battles and quirky characters. The second world is the real world. Here we play as Sunny, a teenager who looks very similar to OMORI. Sunny has spent years isolating himself inside his home. The relationship between these two worlds, OMORI's dream world and Sunny's real life, is where the story becomes powerful. The game slowly reveals secrets about the characters, their past, and the trauma they share. That's all for today's list. Subscribe and like for more new exciting Metroidvania games. That's it, and see you next time.